All right, so from section 1, we're going to do, what did I say, number 4? This is your review. 5x minus 4 equals 2 times x minus 2. Now, nobody could hear me tapping on this screen. But man, when you listen to it, it's like the loudest thing in the world. I don't understand. Huh? I'm not sure there's a better way to do it. Okay, so solve. So you could start the recording here. So you distributed. Now get all your x's on one side. So 3x minus 4 equals negative 4. We add 4 to both sides, and 3x equals 0. And anything, 0 divided by anything is still just 0. So x is equal to 0. How's that? Who got it? Far as done. All right, good. Excellent. Let's go on to the next problem. Let's do one of these. Let's do evens, I guess. This is going to be number 32. 4 over 2u minus 3 plus 10 over 4u squared minus 9 equals 1 over 2u plus 3. All right, excellent. So what do you notice right off the bat? Difference of squares. Okay, so this should be 2u minus 3 and 2u plus 3. All right, who actually saw that? Okay, good. Got to recognize that stuff. Now notice that those are both of your factors in your other equation, fractions. So what do? So since we're solving, I mean, typically when you're adding and subtracting fraction, you want the common denominator. But also you have another option. You can remove your denominators, okay? And I said once all your denominators are the same, you can just remove them. It's the exact same thing. So if you want to get the same denominators, go ahead. Or you can multiply by the common denominator, and the denominators will cancel out. Either way, you're going to get the exact same thing. So the common denominator is the 2u minus 3 and the 2u plus 3. So notice what happens if we multiply the first fraction by that. Okay, so at this point, you should notice that the 2u minus 3 reduces out, and then you have to distribute the 4 through there. Okay, so you get 8u plus 12 all over 1. Understand? That's important that I know that you understand that. However you want to do it, it's the same thing. So go ahead and keep going. I'm going to pause this and then I'll finish it. All right. So if I multiplied the top here by the common denominator, those would reduce out, leaving just the 10. Okay. And then on the right side here, if I multiply by 2u minus 3 and 2u plus 3, we see that the 2u plus 3 reduces out, leaving 1 times that, which is 2u minus 3. However you do it, you will end up with the same thing. So here I'm going to subtract 2u. Okay. I get 6u plus 22 equals negative 3. Please, please, please do not drop your minus signs. All right. And now it's a simple problem. Subtract 22. And we get 6u equals negative 25. And divide off the 6. And u is equal to negative 25/6. Done. Welcome to pre-calculus. All right, moving on. Let's do number 16. 16 is 3 over y plus 6 over y minus 1 over y equals 11. All right, I'll stop this and give you a second to do it on your own. Okay, if we, I mean, technically you could put all that together on the left side. They are common denominators. Or you can multiply everything by y. Is that what everybody did? Okay. So if we multiply by y, then the y's reduce out, leaving 3 plus 6 minus 1 equals 11y. So 9 minus 1 is 8, and you divide off the 11, and you get 8/11 as your answer. Awesome. Okay, let's move on. Number 68. This is r equals v over I. And solve for I, please. I don't know yet. So, first of all, if whatever you're solving for is in your denominator, you got to get out of the denominator somehow. Okay? So we're going to multiply both sides by I, because the i's will reduce on the right side. So you have I times r equals v, and now to get I by itself, divide by r. So I equals v over r. Is that what you said? Yeah. All right, awesome. Section 2 is story problems. Told you I was going to give you one of those. There is one on the quiz. So we're going to go on to section 3. Let's focus on these. Solve this equation by factoring. So let's do number 6. Number 6 is x times 3x plus 10 equals 77. All right, solve that, please, by factoring. So let's distribute. Let's go ahead and go through that. That's going to be 3x squared plus 10x equals 77. In order to factor, we need everything on one side. So 3x squared plus 10x minus 77 equals 0. All right, the 3x is easy. Now we've got to do 77. So always use the middle ones first, the best you can. So 7 and 11. Think about where you should put that. If I just put 7 and 11 randomly, I have to look and see that that's 7, and that's going to be 33. That's not going to get me close to the 10 that I need. So we're going to have to go ahead and rearrange the 11 and the 7. But if you can think through that, it might help. All right, so here we have 11 in the middle, 21, and we can get a positive 10 out of that. How? Negative 11. So make the 11 negative and the 7 positive. But please always check the negative 11 times positive 7. Does that give you the negative 77? And yes, it does. All right, so now what do we do? You're going to set 3x minus 11 equal to 0, and also x plus 7 equal to 0. And then you solve from there. Add 11, subtract 7. Divide off the 3. So that is the answer. All right, so let's do this one here. This is going to be number 10 is 4x squared minus 72x plus 324 equals 0. So take a second, try to figure this out. Factoring only. All right, so I haven't done this problem yet. So let's go ahead and try to figure this out. So I'm going to start with 2x and 2x. 324, I mean, this is crazy. So 3 plus 2 is 5, plus 4 is 9. So I know 9 will go into 324. All right, so if I divide that by 9, that's 327, and it leaves 5, that's 6. So 9 and 36. We have a minus sign here. And this is a plus. That means both of these have to be minuses. If you haven't figured that out, you need to do more factoring. So the question is, does this work? That's 18. That's 72. That's not what we need yet, right? So I see what we need. For the sake of time, let's go ahead and change that to 4x and 1x. And switch the 36 and the 9. Hello. And notice what we get here. 36 and 36, they're both negative. That's 72. That's what we need. All right, so now we solve it. 4x minus 36 equals 0, and x minus 9 equals 0. All right, so add 36, add 9, 4x equals 36, x equals 9, divide off the 4, x equals 9, and that's it, 9 and 9. All right, let's start by doing a completing the square one, okay? So 28, this is going to be 2.328. X squared minus 10x plus 20 equals 0. Complete the square, please. All right, completing the square. A has to be 1, so this has to be a 1. It is, so we're off the hook there. C needs to move to the other side. All right, so we're going to subtract 20, and we end up with x squared minus 10x equals negative 20. And you can either move C first or get A to be 1. Just remember, if you're going to divide off A, you have to do it to every single term. All right, that's the trick of that. All right, so maybe we can do another one later. So we're going to add b over 2. So b over 2 squared is what we're doing. So b is negative 10, but the positive and negative doesn't matter because you're squaring it, right? So b is 10 divided by 2. So that is going to be 5. 10 over 2 is 5. 5 squared is 25. You're adding 25 to both sides. Now you could write the 25 down there, but what did I say the trick was? b over 2 could be a fraction, and it's hard to factor with fractions. So the trick is you get this form here. X is in that position. It's the first operation. And whatever b over 2 is, in this case it's 5. So we get lucky here. There's no fraction. And now what do? Yeah, take the square root of both sides. And we get x minus 5 equals plus or minus the square root of 5. We add 5. X equals 5 plus or minus the square root of 5. And that is good enough until we actually start graphing. Then you'd actually give me what that equals. Okay, 5 plus the square root of 5 and 5 minus the square root of 5. All right, if we have time, we'll come back and do another one. All right, 2.3, quadratic formula. You have to solve using the quadratic formula. This is number 36. 3x squared plus 5x plus 1 equals 0. Begin. X equals, so you have A equals 3, B equals 5, and C equals 1. These are all positive. So negative B plus or minus B squared minus 4 times A times C, all over 2 times A. So negative 5 plus or minus 4 times 3 times 1 is 12. 25 minus 12 is 13. And nothing simplifies. So technically speaking, that would be your answer. The book likes to do this. Negative 5 over 6 plus or minus the square root of 13 over 6. I will look at all those answers. Yeah.
What did you say we have to do if it's negative inside the square root?
Inside the square root?
Yeah.
That would be imaginary numbers, which is section 4. Okay? All right, one more. Got time to do another one. Let's do number 42. Is 30x plus 9 equals negative 25x squared. Quadratic formula only. All right, so I'm going to move the 25x squared to the left, making it positive. And then A is 25, B is 30, and C is 9. Now, you can't factor that. What's the matter? Okay, so x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared, 900, minus 4 times a times c, all over 2 times a. All right, 4 times 25 is 100. 100 times 9 is 900. So we have 900 minus 900, which is 0. So inside the parentheses is 0, or the radical. Square root of 0 is 0, so we no longer need the plus and minus part because that's gone. So we have negative 30 over 50, which is just negative 3/5. Who got that right? All right, excellent, excellent. All right, 2.1, this is going to be your review. First half of this video is for the other class. So if you want to watch and see some more practice from the other class, that'll be the first half of this video. And this will be looked at by them, probably, some of them. All right, so let's go ahead. All right, let's go with number 5. Oh, you've done that. Let's do 6. Number 6. 6 times 2y plus 3 minus 4 times y minus 5. So take a second. Solve for y, please. All right, so the first thing you should have done is distributed the 6 through, and then also you should have distributed a negative 4 through. 12y plus 18 minus 4y plus 20 equals 0. So please don't forget that the operations are in front. So we put like terms together, and then we get 12 minus 4 is 8y. 18 plus 20 is 38. Subtract off the 38. And 8y equals negative 38. And divide by 8. And we'll get y equals negative 38 over 8, which reduces by 2. And so you get negative 19 over 4. Who got that right? Excellent. Moving on. Okay, let's do 24. 24 is negative 5 over 3x minus 9 plus 4 over x minus 3. That equals 5/6. All right. So when you're adding, subtracting fractions, you have an equal sign, you want to get a common denominator. And remember, there's two things you can do. You can get a common denominator and then put everything together. Or you can also multiply by the common denominator, and that'll get rid of your fractions. So either way, you have to look at it and decide what to do. So I look at this left one here, and I have an x minus 3 times 3. That's what that simplifies to. So what are my factors? So on the far right side, that's a 3 and a 2. So my common factor, common denominator is 3, 2, and x minus 3. Those are all the factors used. So we can say 6 and x minus 3. That's fine. Okay, so let's multiply everything by 6 and x minus 3. Okay, and 6 and x minus 3, and 6 and x minus 3. Okay. All right. And what we get, the x minus 3 reduces out on the first one, and the 3 reduces with the 6, leaving 2. So now you have negative 5 times 2 is negative 10 all over 1. Fraction's gone. All right, I'll pause this. You guys finish it. All right, so on the second one here, again, the x minus 3's reduce out, and I'm left with a 6 times 4, so that's 24. On the right side, the 6's reduce out, and then I have a 5 times the x minus 3. So we need to distribute that. That's 5x minus 15. Who got that far? Okay, let's take a look at it and see what you did. Any questions on what we've done so far? Okay, well, I can solve it the other way if you'd like to see it the other way. So I'm going to get everything on one side. So the negative 15, I'm going to add 15 to both sides. So negative 10 plus 24 is 14. Plus 15 is 29. That equals 5x. Divide off the 5. All right, so those of you who got that second step, did you get that far? Okay. And here's the thing. You got to be able to do algebra throughout the whole year, no matter whatever math class you're taking, okay? So we need to make sure we can do these sorts of things so we can learn the new stuff. New stuff isn't hard, just you make your mistakes on your algebra, your addition, subtraction stuff. All right, let's move on to this type of problem. If I said, this is number 64. C equals 2 pi r. Solve for r. So get r by itself, please. All right, so divide by 2 pi. It's attached by multiplication, so those reduce out. C over 2 pi is equal to r. That's it. All right. So when I say factor, you got to factor. When I say complete the square, you have to complete the square. And when I say quadratic formula, you got to use the quadratic formula. Solving it any other way, you get 0 credit. Okay, even if you got it right. All right, so let's do, we did that one. How about we do this one, number 8.
Is this 2.3 or 2.2?
This is a 2.3 here. 4x squared minus 72x plus 324 equals 0. No, we did that one in this class too. Go ahead and try to solve this one. Okay, so this is actually, I think, slide 6 or 8 that we did this problem in the first video, except I'm going to do it differently. In the first slide, I did it as a trinomial the way it is. So on this one, I'm going to factor out a 4. And that's 18, and that's 81. And that is a little bit easier to solve. Anybody factor out a 4 first? Well, for practicing purposes, if you need to see a trinomial solved the other way, go to the slide 6 or whatever this is on at the beginning, and you'll see I did it that way. So this is factors of 81. It'll give me negative 18, because anytime that you have a 1 for a leading coefficient, all you got to do is take factors of c. Okay, so x and x, factors of 81 are 9 and 9. That gives me negative 18. So all you do is you set that equal to 0 and solve it. So x is 9. All right. Number 4, 15x squared minus 14 equals 29x. All right. Go ahead and factor that, please. All right, we need to get everything on one side, so we're going to subtract 29x to the left. And now we need to factor. Again, I'm going to use 3x and 5x. and 2 and 7. Let's just see what that gives us. That's a 10, and that's a 21. That's too much. So again, I just want you to see how I do this. I'll switch the 2 and the 7. Hopefully you've already figured out what this is. That's 35, and that's going to be 6. 35 minus 6 is 29, or negative 35 plus 6 gives me a negative 29. All right, so positive 6 means that the 2 must be positive, and a negative 35 means the 7 must be negative. Just start switching things around. Now, you also need to make sure you check the multiplication. Does that give you a negative 14? Yes, it does. All right, so now then you take 3x minus 7 equal to 0, and 5x plus 2 equals 0, and solve each of those. Who got this far? All right, add 7. 3x equals 7. Divide off the 3. Subtract 2. Divide off the 5. X equals negative 2 over 5. That's it. Completing the square, this is number 28. X squared minus 10x plus 20 equals 0. Everybody complete the square, please. So completing the square, what's important is you understand that a has to be 1. If it's not, divide every single term by whatever it is. And c needs to be moved to the other side. So either one of those you can do first. Well, a is already 1. So all we need to say is x squared minus 10x equals negative 20. Now we complete the square. So completing the square is b over 2 quantity squared. B is 10. It doesn't matter if it's positive or negative because when you square it's going to be positive. So 10 over 2.
Final call for anyone.
Okay. And so you got to add that to both sides, but 10 over 2 is 5. 5 squared is 25. So on the left side, leave it in b over 2 form. So the shortcut to what you get is it's that variable, the very first operation, and b over 2 goes in that position. So if you do have fractions, you will have fractions eventually, if not on the quiz or on the test. In the future, we'll have fractions that go there.
1 to negative 10 though.
Now let's go ahead and take the square root of both sides. And we get x minus 5 equals plus or minus the square root of 5. If you can simplify the radical, do so. Do not grab your calculator until we start graphing. When we start graphing, you're going to need a calculator. All right, so we add 5 to both sides, and we get 5 plus or minus the square root of 5.
So is the sign after the 10x, or like in any other problems, always positive?
When you complete the square because you're squaring whatever it is. Let's go ahead and do a... Okay, quadratic formula number 38. 5/3 s squared plus 3s plus 1 equals 0. All right, what are you going to do here? You can use fractions and do the whole thing if you want, but would it be nicer if we did something else to it?
Yes.
What don't you like?
The fraction.
Well, how do we remove fractions? Multiply by the common denominator, which in this case is just 3. So we're going to multiply everything by 3 before we start.
How is it the common denominator?
It's the only denominator. They're all over 1. So the common denominator is just the 3, okay? And then they reduce out. Oops, sorry, that didn't reduce out. Just the first one. So it's 5s squared. That's going to be 9s, 3, and that's 0. All right, now everybody do the quadratic formula. So the quadratic formula is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
All right. So what you need to do is identify a, identify b, identify c. And if there was a minus sign in front of it, that would make them negative. And now fill in the formula and solve it, please. Yeah. All right. Okay. Negative b is plus or minus b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. So in the parentheses, or under the radical, 4 times 5 times 3, 20 times 3 is 60. So that's negative 60. 81 minus 60 is 21. So it's negative 9 plus or minus the square root of 21 over 10. Now 21 doesn't simplify any further. And this is far enough for me. The book, I think, breaks it apart like this. Either one, guys. But if you can simplify something, you better be simplifying it. Okay, that is something that I require. If it can be simplified, you simplify it.
So would it be like that on the test or no?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
So I would just do divide and then nothing else? Just negative 9 divided by 10.
You just leave it in that form. Exactly like that. If I said 2 plus 5 all over 8. Okay, well that's 7/8. It doesn't reduce, so you're done, right? No. This is a complex fraction because you have at least 2 terms in your numerator. So you would split it apart like this because you can simplify the 2/8. Okay? So you definitely want to split apart your complex fraction if it can be simplified. If it can't be simplified, there's no reason to split it apart.
I get it now.
All right, cool. All right, so let's do another factoring problem. Let me see here. How about this one, number 8? 48x squared plus 12x minus 90 equals 0. I'll give you a couple minutes here. So, did you do anything?
Simplify, divide all by 6.
2?
Yeah, by 6.
Oh, by 6? Which one is it, people?
6.
8x squared plus 2x minus 15?
Yep.
All right. Did you all figure this out?
Yes.
4x and 2x and 5 and 3. 5 and 3. All right, so that's a 10 and that's a 12. We want a positive 2, so a negative 10 and a positive 12. So 4x minus 5 is equal to 0. 2x plus 3 is equal to 0. The 6 doesn't disappear. It's just not. It's just a proportional thing. All right. We're going to add 5 and divide by 4. So 5/4 is the first answer. Subtract 3, divide by 2. So you get negative 3/2 is the second answer. We got it right? Excellent.
I took out a 2 instead of 6.
No, you should have still got the same answer. You made an error someplace else then. Because you don't have to take anything out. You'll still get the same answer.